Welcome to Dare a New Belief, a place to discover what is possible for your life after the loss of a loved one, and where you will find inspiration, insight, support, and love, and hopefully a bit of laughter to help you through your day. Now, here's your host, Nada Hogan.
Welcome to Dare a New Belief, where you will find light and life, love and joy, healing, faith, and hope. A place where you get to believe in what is possible for your life. And today I have the great honor to have Tonya Jahnke on the show with us again. Today, though, we're going to talk about something completely different. Tonya is a registered nurse of 25 years. She is passionate about keeping families healthy and happy together by sharing the whole food nutrition of Juice Plus. She is happily married to Corey for 27 years. That might be 28 years now. And they have one son, Christopher, who is going to be the topic of our conversation today. She is also the owner of 2 sweet pups who fill her life with love and fun. Welcome, Tonya.
Well, hi, Nada. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. And it is a great honor to be here with you. I love your light.
Well, thank you so much, because you're you're just a sweet soul, and I love spending time with you. And so today, the last time you and I sat down and talked, we were talking all about nutrition and you being a nutrition coach, a health coach. And this conversation is the complete opposite. It is all about adoption, because I did not know that you had adopted your son, Christopher. I saw a post on social media, and I just knew that's it. You and I are having the conversation, if you were willing to, about adoption and Christopher. And so that's what this talk is going to be about. And I'm super excited. Obviously, I'm stumbling all over my words to get going in this conversation. And I also want to be very tender to your feelings. And if I ask anything that feels like it is off base, please let me know, and we will skip right over that and move to something else, because I truly want to honor you and your family. So I just want that to be out there, so you know you can hit that pause button anytime. But I would love to.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. So I would love to start with finding out what brought you to the adoption process to begin with.
Well, I'll take you back. When I was a small child, I'm number 5 of 7, grew up on a farm in rural Wisconsin, and I was an outdoors girl. I was Tom girl, and I played with all the cats and the dogs, and I was in the coop with the chickens, and I loved taking care of animals and other people's kids. As a teenager, I was the one that the neighbors would call to stay with their kids. I was babysitting all the time, but my heart was always on adoption of animals and adoption of kids. And I didn't know any adoptive families growing up, but I don't know why, but I know my youngest sister always says, honey, you always said you're going to grow up to be a nurse and you're going to adopt your children.
And, no kidding.
So I think God laid that on my heart very early. And I didn't think much of it, even as I grew into my teen years. And then I met my husband when I was 21. We were married for 10 years before we even talked about starting a family. So because I just came to the point that we were just going to be childless, and we were good with that. We were living our lives. He's a pharmacist. He's working full time. I was working 3 different jobs as a waitress and at the Humane Society at the time. And then I decided to go to nursing school. And we were just living our lives. We adopted our animals. You know, that's when I was introduced to the Humane Society. And I was like, oh, we have to adopt this little doggy. We have to adopt this little kitty.
Yes.
So then we had a house full of adopted animals. And then I was about 31, and I started to see my friends starting their families. And I started going, you know what? I think I want to be a mama, a mama of a human.
Yeah.
But I was an OB nurse. I started out, I had been an OB nurse for several years by that time. And, helping mamas go through the birthing process and everything. I can't say I ever had that urge or anything to actually birth a child, but boy, did I want to be a mom.
Wow. Isn't that something? Because I've never heard it like this. I'm so intrigued. I've not heard it like this. And especially you and Corey just being married and the whole idea of not even discussing, do we want to have kids? Do we not want to have kids? Because sometimes just early on in the dating, that's part of the conversation. And it was just like, nope, not even on our radar. And even being an OB nurse, my goodness, you're holding all these teeny tiny little babies. And it's like, nope, not even on the radar. It's just amazing to me. I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, completely different. And because I have heard stories after story after story of just heartbreaking, stories of families, who try so hard to become parents, and then they turn to adoption as kind of the last resort.
Right.
Sometimes. So yes, our story is completely different. Not sad at all. Just more like, it's almost like Christopher was a miracle. He was kind of a miraculous miracle, because when we told our families we were going to adopt, they're like, what, another dog? Or no. No, we're going to actually adopt a human.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was good.
Yeah. So do you know, so like you were watching, your friends are having kids and they're building a family. And so was it something where it was just like you felt it stirring inside of you, or do you remember what that was all about?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was one thing just delivering babies for, strangers and my patients. But once I started to see my friends, my real close friends, and I was holding their babies and helping deliver their babies, and them, like, their lives completely changing for just a miracle, I was just like, I think I want this, And so then it took us, it was a couple years. We were talking about it. My husband was much slower to get on the bandwagon. Because he kind of liked our life, he liked our lives with our doggy, our 2 dogs and our 3 kitties, and working and fulfilling our dreams that way, and just being together. We had a very full, beautiful life.
Yeah.
But I just knew in my heart that it could be even fuller. It could even, have one more just sweetness.
Yeah.
Blessed into our lives. So I'm not sure how to even put that into words, but yes, it was a stirring inside of me. And I was like, I think I really want this. And then I started looking into adoption and adoptions agencies. And Nada, that was so fun. And I haven't talked about this in so long, but we were looking at just looking at the agencies are just like, and the possibilities. So do we go, outside of the country, or do we stay here, or do we go outside of the state, or, and we decided to settle on Lutheran Social Services. And that was in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And we went to classes and we did all of the things. And by then my husband was getting pretty excited. And November is National Adoption Month. And there was a big meeting. So we went to that. That was our first meeting. We got our names on the list. We decided to go through open adoption. There's different adoptions that you can go through. And an open adoption is where the birth parents choose the birth or the adoptive parents. So the birth parents choose the adoptive parents for their baby. Wow. And I said, oh, absolutely, that is the only way to go. Because when they choose us, they see our portfolio. They know who we are. They know what kind of people that we can provide and what kind of environment we can provide their baby. And they get to follow the child growing up. And it's been beautiful.
Yeah.
It brings tears to my eyes.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you could hear it. You could hear that in your voice. Oh my, so you're not disconnected. You are just the birth family or birth mother, at least, gets to stay in touch with the family that has adopted that child. And it's just got to be the most beautiful thing. And I want to dive all into that, but I'm going to wait to dive into that. So the birth. So now you're at the Lutheran services. You decide that you want to have this open adoption. And even if I can step back, because I know you said at the beginning, your husband wasn't as excited as you were at the very beginning. When did he start changing his mind?
I think when he started to see the passion and the longing that I really wanted this. And my husband, bless his heart, he wants to see me happy and he wants to fulfill every dream that I have. And he has since day one. And we've been together almost 30 years now.
Wow.
And I feel so blessed, but he does. I feel very passionate about something and really feel like I want to go forward with something. He is backing me up all the way, 100%. And
beautiful.
He is a beautiful person, absolutely. And so when we went to the very first meeting, it's this big room full of, almost expectant parents, but in a different way, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then we were put together in different groups. There was a group of probably, I think, 4 or 5 couples.
Okay.
And then we were able to meet like weekly because we had parenting classes. When you adopt a child, now this was 18 years ago. Christopher's 18 now. But you had to go through parenting classes, and it was not optional.
Okay.
And it was for a very it was over 6 months. But we formed this beautiful bond. We formed this bond with these couples. But every single one of their stories were just tragic, where they've tried and they've had the unfortunate miscarriages and just so very sad. So my heart went out to them, and I just prayed for them, like, please bring them a baby. I want them to be chosen, and but it was yes. But then my husband, yes, he was all in, and he was excited, and just going and learning all about the children that need homes and the parents, what they go through, because then we had adoptive parents come speak with us with their babies in their arms, and then many birth parents came to speak with us. So we were able to see both sides. It was beautiful, Nada. It was awesome, because I'm just coming from, a potential adoptive mama,
Right.
And then to have the birth mom and dad come and speak to the group. Wow, that was life-changing. And to see it from their point of view and how brave they are and were to choose adoption for their child.
Right.
It's just beautiful. I learned so much, yes.
Oh, I bet. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, how beautiful to have this bonded relationship with the couples, other potential parents that are coming into these meetings too. And right. It's the same way. Most people that I know that have adopted children, it's because of tragedy. For whatever reason, they're not able to have children themselves. And they've gone through many miscarriages, and it's just very painful. The whole thing is so painful and tragic. And I love that you guys get to be together in this. What cracks me up is, and it's beautiful, but you guys take a class for 6 months to be parents. And it's like, it's not required when you're just a husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. There's no, you just do it. It's like, I'm shooting from the hip, have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just going to do how I was brought up. It's the only way I know how to do it. So, oh my goodness. I love that there's the classes, but everybody that was in your group, did they all end up with children, or do you guys even stay in touch anymore?
Back then, 18 years ago, there was no Facebook. I mean, there was email. So I think if I remember right, we did have an email group at one time. And then once we started becoming parents, then we all kind of went our own separate ways. It was sadly. But I remember their faces, Yeah. And what was a little bit of a struggle for me, and it wasn't even a struggle, it was more like heartbreaking, is that I didn't want to share my story because it wasn't a tragic story. Like mine was like, I'm here, we could potentially birth children. My husband had gone through the surgery, when he was 25. We just decided, I didn't want to take birth control, so he went and had his, and I didn't want him to have that reversed. Oh my goodness, that's a very expensive procedure and I didn't want him to have to go through that. And I've always considered myself an adoptive mama.
Yes.
So it's a little bit hard for me because people are looking at me like, you could potentially birth a child and you're just choosing not to. And I don't know if there was any judgment there, but I could feel sometimes there was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so
yes.
That was a little hard because everybody's story is different. And I think, Nina, that helped me grow up and see other people's views of other people's stories. And that's when I think I became like, I cannot judge anyone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I just can't. And when those adoptive or those birth moms and dads came and told their story, I cannot judge them for what they, and I can't judge the adoptive parents for making the choice. Like, I swear that is when I decided to accept everybody where they're at.
Yeah. Yes.
Because,
Yeah. I love this because we just had this conversation in a different podcast where it's the things that show up in our life always offer blessings. And so when we're in a place where it feels like, maybe I am being judged because even though nobody said anything directly to my face, but it allows me now to know I'm not going to be in judgment of anybody else, because if I want to adopt a child and I don't want to, try to have a child naturally, that's my choice. And really, we don't, because judging is always the person who's doing the judging. It's never the person who's being judged. It's a reflection of the person who's doing the judging. So when we get to realize, I don't need to judge anybody ever. It's not even my place to do it. It's, however you choose to run your life is how you run your life. So I love that the blessing came out of that you knew you didn't have to do that. So Tonya, what's going to happen is we're going to run out of time because it's always a time warp when we're in these podcasts. And so
goodness, yes.
It's insane. I have a list of questions that I want to ask you. So as we are wrapping this first episode down, because first I want to know, are you willing to come back and carry on this conversation with me? for next week. Are you able to do that?
Oh my goodness, Nita. Absolutely. I would love that so much.
Perfect. Because we got so much to dive into. So to close this one out, I guess the question that I would like to ask you is, for anybody who is contemplating adopting, because of course it would be hard. You've not given a child up for adoption, but you have you've received a child that you adopted. So if there was a parent out there, maybe even in the same shoes as you, we probably could have kids on our own accord, but we don't want to. We want to adopt. And maybe I'm a little bit afraid of the judgment. Maybe somebody, I don't know. I'm not going to do it because somebody else's opinion it's looming big over me. What would you say to them, Tonya?
I believe that God puts ideas and passions in our hearts for a reason.
Right.
And if adoption keeps tugging at your heart, then at least look into it. And that's what we did. We became curious. Like, so what's out there?
Yeah.
What organizations, what agencies are available? And then there's so many different options. It's endless. So I would just say, seek really in your heart what God is speaking to you, and then speak with your partner. Or if you don't have one and you're single and you're like, you know what? I think I want to do this. Then there are agencies, there are birth parents out there that are looking just for you, honestly.
Right.
I mean, yeah. So I always say just, think with your heart.
Yes.
and go, just go with it, because that still small voice that's speaking to you, it's speaking to you for a very good reason. Yeah. Honestly, it's not wasting your time. It's there for a reason. Yes,
Yep. 100% agree. Absolutely. In total agreement with that. Yes. So thank you so much, Tonya, for taking the time to be with us here today and share this part of the story of how it was that you became adoptive parents. And then when you come back for part 2, I want to dive in all about the birth family and Christopher and all of this other wonderful stuff. So thank you so much for being here, and for all of the listeners. Please be sure to come back and join us for part 2, so we get to hear all about Christopher and how this family went from 2 to 3 and everything else that's happened in between. I'm grateful to have you here, Tonya, and I'm grateful to have the listeners. Thank you all for being here. Until next week. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Please go to nadahogan.com for show notes and other information you can use right away. If you like what you heard here, please subscribe to our show, and don't forget to rate and review right there on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your shows. And don't forget to tell your friends about it. We'll see you next week.